Hi everyone and welcome to your daily horoscope. Today's sky is extremely potent and very concentrated, where the main celestial conversation is still that square Mars and Neptune are holding with the Sun, but at the same time, this is where Jupiter and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn are once again starting to get very close to each other, where later on they'll form a conjunction, and this is going to be a very significant energy because it takes place around the degree where the January of 2020, Saturn and Pluto conjunction took place, a very rare and extremely potent transformative conjunction which only happens once every 500 years, and we can already see in a very clear and obvious way how that dance of Pluto, the great celestial alchemist, and Saturn, the planet of restrictions, the great karmic judge, influenced our normality until this present moment. That is where that energy, in a very unexpected and perhaps unusual way, deconstructed the symbolism of centralized power, and right now everything is falling apart, but it is giving us the opportunity and the chance to reconstruct it, rebuild it, based on ever we desire collectively to experience in the future. And that is exactly why this moment is going to be, ending, or better said, beginning this December, more specifically on the 21st of December, at the time of the Great Conjunction, which is going to take place at 0 degrees in the sign of Aquarius, and that will be the moment when a new paradigm, a new world view, a new world order is going to crystallize in our minds, giving us the chance to step into the future. But there is still a lot of time until December, and this is where the dance of the stars in the present moment are preparing us for that. And this is one of the energies which prepares us in a very indirect manner, because this is the energy of a very powerful and profound psychological purge. Mars and Neptune in the sign of Pisces, the sign of cleansing, the sign of purge, the sign of endings, the past, the distant past, even past lives, the hidden, the subconscious, the ruler of the 12th house, so to speak. So this is where it is evoking very powerful, repressed, collective traumas, and the Black Lives Matter movement is a very powerful symbolism for this. But this is also taking place in our individual lives, where either memories, hurts, pains, traumas are coming to the surface, and if not, if, for example, we have already put an end to those in the recent or more distant past, well then it is becoming that much clearer to us everything that doesn't resonate with us, everything that is not part of who we are. This is where even our identity, that square with the sun in Gemini, what we think about ourselves, who it is that we know ourselves to be, our identity, our role, our function, basically. And that is changing, but not in a way where we get aligned immediately with the new, with our current truth, but rather the universe, the stars are showing us everything and every possible version of who it is that we are no longer, or who it is that we cannot resonate with. So this is a very indirect purge where our fake expectations, our unhealthy desires, our idealistic or naive goals, everything that doesn't advantage us truly, becomes one after another that much more aware to us. And even though this energy is uncomfortable, it is painful, it is melancholic and depressive for some people, or extremely confusing to other people. And it doesn't matter if that confusion sources from within or, from the outside world, the media, and all this massive mediatic and psychological warfare that is going on. it really doesn't matter, because what matters is that what doesn't resonate with us in this present moment has to become crystal clear so that we can abandon it, so that we can release all attachment to it. Even if it's like a basic desire to own a luxury car, this is just an example. Now, if the universe is proving to you in the present moment in every possible way why that, potential future wouldn't resonate with who you're becoming, well, then that is the moment of surrender, where you just release that unhealthy need to own something, and, instead you take a look at what other things you might need in your life, which are much more important than that need or desire of yours. So this is basically like Pluto, the alchemist, an alchemical process where our desires, our true wills, and of course who it is that we are actually, our archetype, what it is, what we embody, what it is that we believe, that is being purged, refined, purified, an alchemical purification process basically. And at the same time, we also have very powerful quincunxes in the sky, which are very modern, minor astrological aspects, which not everyone takes into consideration, because it is an energy of surprise, sometimes delight, sometimes awkwardness, sometimes confusion. But this is exactly why those confusing information, truths, half-truths, illusions, and deceptions that we can see so very clearly right now are helping us, because we have to input a lot of effort, a lot of inner strength into alchemizing them and turning them to our greatest advantage, for them to be a very powerful and profound transformative force in our lives, because that is what Pluto is, the trauma, Hades, the story of Hades, how he became the ruler of the underworld. Because his story is also full of pain, full of wounds, full of trauma, but this is how he alchemized his trauma, where he could take control of an aspect of, the underworld, where he could keep it in a certain balance, where he could keep it separate from other, divine spheres. And his trauma ultimately made him who he is, and that is how he coped with it. That is how he processed it. So this is where all of us are Pluto, one way or another in our lives. And Pluto right now, especially that it's retrograde, and it represents our inner power, the power of our divine sovereignty that we have over our lives and our beings. Now, the sky right now is showing us where our true power lies, and it is meeting Jupiter, the planet of truth, the planet of justice, the great expansion. So this is a very powerful karmic momentum building up for us to see how we can change our lives, and ultimately how our individual changes are going to change collective reality. As rigid, as impossible to change as it may seem in the present moment, it is still going to change. There is no doubt about this. Until the end of this December 2020, the change is going to be that much more obvious and visible to all of us. And that is also the energy of hope, the energy of optimism specific to Jupiter, even though if in the sign of Capricorn it is debilitated, it is not that strong and straightforward, well, it is still giving us that power of hope and to believe in the future, even if the present is so very grim. But this is where, the destruction, the deconstruction, the negativity of all of it is actually a spark of hope, because we know that everything is changing and it will never be the same again. It is already done. Our normalities have already shattered, so there is no question about it. And if a bright future cannot be a source of hope right now, because we cannot palpably, anticipate the future, we just don't know. But then at least the destruction, the deconstruction, the shattering of the old paradigm can be a source of hope, because even if the future is uncertain, at least we know that it has a small chance to be anything. And if the rules that govern the world, society, political systems, economic systems, and everything that has to do with normality, if those rules are no longer viable, well, that is a fantastic opportunity for the future rules to be totally different and to give us certain options that we just didn't have in our lives until now. And of course, there are sextiles, harmonious celestial conversations in the sky that require action, initiative, that require maybe moments of courage, because one of these sextiles is Mars sextiling its higher octave Pluto. So this is all about power. This is all about will, ambition, determination, inner strength. So if we decide something deep within us and we just stick to it, well, chances are that even fate, even Lady Fortuna is going to advantage us. The universe will conspire in our favor, because as long as we know perfectly in a very intense way what we desire, well, then we communicate that indirectly to the universe, and the universe is definitely going to be supporting us, especially if what we want and wish for is not self-centered and selfish. And that is exactly why that square with the sun in the Gemini is so very important, because it has to eliminate the narcissistic, self-centered tendencies that all of us have one way or another, because all of us are driven by instinct, all of us are a little bit animals, and that is exactly why that Chiron is in the sign of Aries, and it is healing that. It is healing our survival mentality and our aggressive primordial instincts, all of which are supposed to provide us with this survival mechanism. So things which trigger us, things which frustrate us deeply, things which evoke our inner aggression are definitely entering our sphere of awareness right now, because that is how we heal. We have to observe what triggers us and why, and then we already have power over it. Then we can already choose not to project our own hurts and wounds on other people. So this energy may be highly uncomfortable, but ultimately it's healing us. And also it is inspiring us, because there is a sextile between Neptune and Pluto as well, and that is a very magical, artistic, dreamy energy, where we can just fantasize something into existence, because fantasy is basically a divine alchemical process where the universe changes and reforms outer reality by triggering this inside of us first of all. And another aspect that needs to be mentioned is Mercury in the sign of Cancer, empowering our empathy, our emotional intelligence, flow of emotions and feelings, and also, everything and everyone that we love and, is important for our souls. All of our soul level connections, all of our familiar connections, the culture that we belong to. And, yes, it is absolutely true that Mercury is in shadow and is going to go retrograde on the 18th of the month. Yet still, this retrograde is going to be so very useful, so very necessary for us to come to terms and heal the past and everything, every single aspect of our emotions which might be in disharmony. So this is the moment when we can find forgiveness. This is the moment when we can just release. And also, this is the moment when we can go back and heal, burn bridges in relationships, for example, which were terminated by matters of the past which are no longer important and relevant and can be, just released. And also, the next part of this reading is a tarot reading that I decided to, use to complement today's horoscope. And this is where the reading is opened by the Ace of Wands, and this is a really significant card because it is definitely our Mars. It is definitely that Mars in Pisces, where, it is not very quick, it is not very, spontaneous, instant, but it is very powerful. Because if our ambitions are also supported by our souls, if everything that we need to change in our lives doesn't just become a mental process, but also a deep emotional and spiritual process as well. Well, we become attractive, we become extremely magnetic to the hand of fate to offer us all those opportunities to release the past, to figure out what it is that is the most important for us in our lives in the present moment and the future we would like to experience by knowing everything that wouldn't resonate with all the experiences that we would like to be living in the future. So this is where the Eight of Swords is reversed, and that is also very positive energy, because if it is becomes crystal clear in our minds everything that we wouldn't like to do, everything that doesn't represent us, everything that is just superficial and that is not very meaningful to us, the person who we are deep inside our hearts, that makes it that much easier for us to release all our unhealthy, obsessive, extremely potent desires which don't source from a very authentic place, but perhaps they might be a projection of society's needs, expectations, the expectations and needs of your family and friends, etc. It is different for every single person where the unhealthy and unwise desires source from. But this is where, even if we don't know what we want to do in the future, what we want to experience in the future, that is no problem at all, because that is turning us into like a very excited, a very happy child who doesn't know what tomorrow is gonna bring, but still its attitude is going to be that of excitedness. It is going to be a sense and spirit of adventure, where yes, the future, an uncertain future, is full of risks and dangers, but it is also full of potential. It is full of opportunities. It is full of events which can make us feel that much alive and can become very powerful and significant life experiences and beautiful memories for the very distant future. So this is basically the attitude that this present moment sky is building up inside of us, where it is perfectly okay not to know. It is perfectly okay not to hold the truth. It is perfectly okay to be somewhat confused, as long as you know what you don't like, as long as you know what goes against you, your principles, your faith, your life philosophies, your worldviews. If you know what goes against that, then you're already in a very safe place mentally, because there is no more place for regret, for what ifs, for second thinking. That is exactly the reason why that Six of Coins is also reversed, because the universe is advising us to invest everything that we have, all our inner power, all our focus and attention, and even our material resources into ourselves and whatever is very important for us in the present moment. Yes, it can also create moments of self-indulgence, but this is where it is so very necessary in this present moment, because we need to feel that we support ourselves, that we are there for ourselves, and that we are as generous and as understanding, loving, and kind to ourselves as our situations can maximally permit us to be. Because if during this very turbulent and powerful, pivotal moments, karmic moments in history that are basically unique to all of us, we never ever lived anything like this. Well, if during such a time we stand from a place of self-support, care, love, and generosity to the self, that means that the future we're stepping into will enable us to do the same, but extend all of this to other people. And that is the energy of compassion, that is the energy of generosity, that is already, by knowing ourselves, being kind and loving to ourselves, gives us that much more power to do it for other people. And also we can see people, who were extremely fortunate, who were extremely supported by the heavens until this present moment, all throughout the past 20, 30 years of their lives. they are finally getting that inner call to share whatever they have, because they know that right now they have to purge as well, that the wheel of fortune, that the wheel of samsara is turning for them as well, and acts of generosity, compassion, and supporting others is actually healing them and making sure that their futures are gonna be just as fortunate, just as easy, just as prosperous. So that is why very, very many powerful people who were very, very well off until this present moment are now starting to share, are now starting to, stand up for others. So basically, this represents that yes, absolutely, there are a lot of, unpleasant, negative, hurtful, worrying, and fearful things taking place in the world right now, but at the same time, there is also another end of the spectrum, which is just as alive as all the negativity. So if we want to focus on something more positive, we can look at all the great deeds, all the great gestures of solidarity and compassion and generosity that some people are doing. So, yes, absolutely, this is where a lot of people who have abused their powers are going down, but at the same time, those people who didn't abuse their powers, who just were advantaged by the heavens, for example, they are waking up that this is a very potent and powerful moment when they can do something really big and really significant with the power, maybe financial power, economic power, social power, the power of influence, for example, actors and all of that, that the universe has gifted them, and this is the moment when they do something really big with it. So there's always another side of the spectrum. So there is not only doom and gloom in there, but there is also initiatives, very bright ideas, and gestures of great compassion that can inspire all of us. And also, this reading is closed by another ace, the Ace of Pentacles and the Death card. And this is very, very significant and symbolic, because the Ace of Coins is basically our sense of normality, our material stability, all the rules and regulations, all the traditions that govern our normality, and all of that is changing. The Death card, Pluto, alchemy, the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. So this is where, in order for this material element in the world, in our lives, to become reconfigured in a much healthier state, we need to release the power and the obsession, basically, that we hold over it. This is where we just have to know that our inner powers, our inner Pluto, so to speak, is more than enough to ensure that whatever normality is going to be looking like in the future after 21st December, well, it is going to advantage us, because reality has to reflect what we have on the inside. And if we are standing from a place of wisdom, of compassion, of love, and of course self-worth as well, well, then the future cannot look that bad, regardless of how things play out on the world stage. This is where we are planting seeds of intention in a more powerful and potent way that we have ever done in our lives. At least for the younger generations, there wasn't a moment like this ever in their lives. So this is when we have to do this inner work and just focus on we would like to experience, both for us individually as well, but at the same time, we have to extend at least one part of our wish to the collective, to the world. We have to wish something for the world as well, because that is how we are creating the future. And this very potent and powerful new moon / solar eclipse that is going to take place on Sunday, on the 21st of June, in 0 degrees, the critical degree, the Aries degree of Cancer, being so very close to the world axis. Well, this represents a karmic moment of fertility, of creation, where we can actually plant everything that we desire into the universe, and that will, in the following 6 months, it will birth a very powerful and potent new beginning in our lives. And this is the symbolism of that Ace of Coins, because this is how, with the power that we possess, that death card, our inner strength, this is how we can actually literally shape reality to whatever we desire to experience. So all throughout the last couple of weeks and months, ever since the beginning of this year, we had so many celestial conversations which promoted endings, karmic moments, karmic harvest in the most unpleasant manner, moments of reckoning, when, the South Node was in Capricorn. So we had a lot of purging, terminations, endings, big truths shocking us and all of that. There were so many karmic moments when we had to surrender and give up, etc. But finally, now we have an equally as powerful opportunity to create something new, to heal everything, to change the tone 180 degrees, because those were destructive aspects, and this is the first major, massively potent creational aspect, when everything that we put in the universe has a very, very big chance to just enter reality over the next 6 months. So the cards advise us that whatever we do, we have to use this opportunity to just wish whatever is so very important to us into existence. Well, thank you so much for listening. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day. Until next time, bye for now.